Today we're making pan-seared pork chops with an apple chutney inspired pan sauce. I would say this sauce is kind of like an apple chutney, but it's also kind of like a pan sauce. So I don't want to call it one thing or another. It's basically a condensed version of making an apple chutney, which is a mixture of fruits. So apples, onions, spices, juice, and it kind of reduces into a saucy jam. Chutney is very prominent in Indian cuisine, and you can actually find a lot of really cool tutorials on YouTube that show you how to make it the proper way. Obviously, we're cooking pork today. I am using bone-in pork chops. You can use boneless. You can use fully trimmed pork chops. You can also use pork tenderloin medallions. Any kind of pork will go nicely here, except for pork belly. I mean, like, that's not our vibe. We're going for that leaner cut. Let's start off with our ingredient prep, marinade. You might as well have your pork sitting in a bath of flavor while you know, take the necessary steps to make your own meal. This is a really straightforward marinade. We're adding soy sauce, apple cider vinegar, olive oil, and a sweetener of your choice to a bowl. I am using honey, but of course you can sub agave nectar or brown sugar. Then I'm adding 3 cloves of garlic that are crushed for super aroma power. Slicing half of a medium-sized yellow or sweet onion. You can add any kind of onion that you like, or just use onion and garlic powder. Final touch is a sprinkle of paprika on top. Mixing that up, putting it in a bag, and adding our meat. You can obviously have this sit overnight or just do it 30 minutes before. Prepping our apple chutney, we're gonna grate a gala apple or another apple of your choice on a standing grater. I'm using the coarse side of the grater, but you can use whatever you prefer. I like this because it gives it texture. Set that aside and dice an onion. Once again, I'm using a medium sweet onion and I'm just finely chopping it. You could grate it as well. Now I'm mincing 4 garlic cloves until nice and finely minced. A little trick here is using the back of your knife to press the pieces of garlic down and create kind of a paste. It also makes it more stable to chop. Speaking of chops, I'm drying off my pork chops on both sides thoroughly. Make sure it's very dry. This will help when you sear it. We're gonna season with some kosher salt. I'm using a fine kosher salt, garlic powder, and pepper. You can of course jazz it up if you'd like. Now here's something that's really important. You see these layers of fat on the edges of the pork chop? We want to slice into them just so that our pork chop doesn't curl up when it's in the pan. Surprisingly, this is a big issue. It can cause some tension in the pork chop and it makes it warp when it's heated up in the pan. Season a pan with an oil of your choice and start to sear the pork chops until golden brown on one side, about 3 to 4 minutes on the side, then flip it over and let it sear again for another 3 to 4 minutes, of course, until they are golden brown. But while it's searing on the second side, we're adding 2 tablespoons of butter to that pan because we're gonna baste these babies. If you don't know what basting is, it basically means we're melting the butter in the pan and we're using a large spoon. We're putting that sizzling butter on top of the pork chop as they cook, which is helping them retain moisture and helping them get a lot of flavor and, of course, cooking the pork chops. Now they are done. It's been about 8 to 10 minutes. The internal temperature is 145 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna let them rest for 10 whole minutes, covered so they stay warm. This is super important for the juices to redistribute and for you to make your chutney pan sauce situation. Add the onions to the pan, then you're gonna add the apple and garlic, mix it up and season very generously with salt. We say salt to taste because it's gotta be to your taste, so feel free to just do sprinkle after sprinkle and taste it until you get to a level that you prefer. We're adding ground cloves, ground cinnamon, and turmeric. You can substitute ground ginger for the turmeric. It has that really strong aromatic essence to it. I like turmeric because it's a bit more earthy, but it's up to you. Then add some apple cider vinegar and soy sauce and mix it up. Here is our final result. I forgot to film this, but I removed the chutney sauce from the pan. Then I added a sprig of thyme and let it toast for a few minutes before taking the leaves off and topping the pork chops. I actually served the apple chutney on the bottom because it is so ugly. I love the spices in the chutney pan sauce situation. It's tart, it's a little sweet, the pork is nutty, it's hearty, it's savory. It just all comes together. And surprisingly, that last bit of toasted thyme on top, incredible. It is that time where I'm gonna go eat my dinner. Sebastian's not here, so this is all for me. But of course, follow me on Instagram for more exclusive recipes. My account is Dining with Skyler. You can get this full recipe on my website, diningwithskyler.com, and it will be conveniently located in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the ding dong bell, a notification bell. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Mwah. Juicy meat is so good. I'm so tired.